Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to the first in a series of cooking programs, videos, to show you how to prepare stuff at home, especially in these times where people are on lockdown. We don't know how long it's going to be for, so people are now doing stuff more at home. Okay, today we're going to start off by doing something really basic, bit for beginners, but something that hopefully everyone will enjoy. We're going to make some shortbread. Now, it's one of the very first recipes I learned to bake and make when I was younger, and it's a really easy recipe. But before we start, one thing is really important: suchan. So we need to make sure everything we use is nice and clean. Sucha, clean and pure. That includes our hands. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash my hands first. Now my hands have already been washed, so I'm just going to do a quick one. But as the government states, 20 seconds, washing properly, you know, getting all the areas, get all them germs off. Now, a good habit to get into is mind the tupiyan, as they say in India, or wash the tap, because some people, a bit dirty, germs on their hand. Open the tap, wash their hands, close the tap, still got germs on their hands. So wash your tap, wash your hands, keep it nice and clean. Okay. Now, to the baking. Okay, very simple recipe, easy to remember as well. All you have to remember is 3, 2, 1. Okay, they're your ratios, 3 to 2 to 1. And 3 ingredients, very simple: plain flour, butter and sugar. For a vegan option, you can use vegan butter or margarine, works as well. Okay, so the 3 in the ratio is your flour, your 2 in the ratio is your butter, and your 1 in the ratio is sugar. So if we work it backwards, nice easy way to remember: if you're making a lot, 100 grams of sugar, 200 grams of butter, 300 grams of flour. Because I'm not making loads, I'm just making a small batch today, I've halved that, so it's 150 grams of flour, 100 grams of butter and 50 grams of sugar. So it's plain flour, as you can see, normal plain flour, already measured out. Put the flour in your bowl. Some people like to sieve their flour, but you don't need to. Okay, so you've got your flour, sugar, just normal sugar, granulated. Put that straight in there. Let's get it all in. Thing is, this is a really easy one to do. You can do it with your kids. Anyone can do this. Even the old people at home, grandparents, grandmothers, uncles, aunties, everyone. Because, like I said, it's a fun way of getting into baking. Now, what you do is just quickly mix it all together. I tend to do this, you don't have to, but I do. Just mix the sugar and flour together quickly, basically. One thing, your hands are going to get really messy, so you've got to be prepared for that. Especially this next bit. We're going to add the butter. Now again, just normal butter, unsalted is probably best. But what you need to do is you need to leave it out for a bit so that it becomes a bit soft. Break it into little chunks. I know this looks a bit like cheese, but it's not. It's definitely butter, right? So break it down into little bits into your bowl. One thing I'd like to mention as well, what we tend to do at home when we're cooking or baking, you can probably hear in the background some gurbani going on as well. It's good practice, especially in these times, and sticking to Maryada. When you are preparing anything to eat, anything that you are going to consume, recite gurbani over it, because then the power of that gurbani, not only is it beneficial to you, it's actually going in what you're about to consume. So then the power of the bani is in that food, it goes into you as well. Right, so I don't know if you can see, but you've got butter, sugar, flour mixed together. what we're going to do is something called the rubbing technique. Very, very simple. You just get everything together and you rub it like that. So I'll come a bit closer so you can see. This is how you rub. You just get everything together and rub it through your fingers so it becomes a bit breadcrumby. And you keep doing. This takes a bit of time. As you can see, the butter and the flour is all constituting together. It's all mixing together. It's going to get stuck to your fingers. Your hands are going to get messy. Sometimes right at the beginning, I tend to do that a little bit as well. Just get all the butter and the flour all broken up. And what will happen is the flour will start to turn golden brown. And I'm going to continue to create the breadcrumbs and keep rubbing this mixture. Right, okay, so as you can see, it doesn't look like flour anymore. It looks like broken up breadcrumbs. This is what it should look like once you've rubbed all the butter, all the sugar and the flour together. One thing I forgot to mention right at the start was you need to preheat your oven. Oven needs to be preheated at about 160, 170 degrees, which I've already done. So preheated oven. This is your mixture. Now we're ready to transfer it to our tin. Right, okay, so now you've seen it all in the breadcrumb mixture. What I've done is I've pre-greased a tin. Classic tin, just a tart tin that I use. You can use any kind of tin you want depending on your mixture. This tin's been in the family for many, many years. It's a classic tin, very historical history behind it. My mother got me this tin. Well, she actually got two, the same. One for myself, one for my brother, for when we started doing cooking in middle school. And it's the actual tin that I first made shortbread in. So I'm bringing a little bit of history in there for you as well. Right, so I use butter to grease the tin. Sometimes what you can do is just a little bit of oil, grease it. My wife prefers oil, I'm preferring butter. It's up to you. You guys can argue at home what you want to do. I'm sure I'm going to have an argument later on when my wife sees this video for not using the oil. Right, so what you do is you take this mixture and just put it straight into your tin. Just putting it straight in. Can you see? It's just going straight in. And then what you do, spread it out so there's no gaps. Spread it out in your tin. Right, the amount that we've used today, the 150, 100 and then 50 of sugar is enough for one of these tins. Normally, like I say, when I'm doing the 3, 2, 1, I usually do 300, 200, 100. So that way we can make 2 tins, you get a lot more. But then what you do is you spread it out in your tin and you press it down. And you'll see it actually compacts in. I don't know if you've ever done it, you know, like when you've been to the beach, and none of you have ever been to the beach during these lockdown times, but in the beach, when you're pressing wet sand, you press it all down so it all compacts together. You need to make it really, really tight. You need a bit of strength for this, so you really got to press it down so it's really, really compact in there. Right, even on the sides, just press it down. Okay, because we've used plain flour, it's not going to rise too much. You can use self-raising flour. I have in the past, and what happens, it sort of just expands a little bit, so it's not the crumbly shortbread that you might be used to. Right, okay, so it's all pressed in, all pressed down. Then one thing that's really, really important that you must not forget, get a fork and you prick holes in your shortbread. Now this is not just for the aesthetic, okay? There is a practical reason for this. It allows the steam to pass through all the gaps underneath and allows it to cook thoroughly in between. So it's not left kacha, as we say, or raw or uncooked, depending on whoever's watching this video. We'll use them as many languages as we can. Right, okay, that's it. What we do now, preheated oven like I say, and we put it in the oven. I usually put it in the top part of the oven. Top part, it's turning into a science lesson now, is usually the hottest part of the oven. It's because heat rises, convection, blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff. If you need a science lesson, don't worry, we'll provide you a video on those too as well, maths, English, whatever, don't worry about it. So, straight into the oven, in the top, middle of the shelf, in the top of the oven, and then you leave it for about 30 minutes to an hour, 45 minutes, something like that. But what I tend to do is I tend to come back and check. So depending on your oven, it might be faster, might be slower. So it depends, like I say, on your oven. But we're going to leave that in there now to cook. I'll come back and check it in between. And now, while you're waiting, you can go off and do other things. Oh, right, so I'm just having a bit of a break now while it's cooking, having something to drink, having something to eat. I've got some burfi here, which maybe not, might show you how to make in a future video. But we're nearly there, it's cooking. Wish you could smell it, but it smells beautiful in here with the shortbread being made. Just a few more minutes. Right, it's nearly done, but just a few minutes more. It's made now, it's ready to take out the oven. So I've shut the oven off, still warm. What you've got to remember is, even though you've shut the oven off, it's still going to be cooking inside. What I tend to do, when I see it's ready, I turn the oven off and leave it for a couple more minutes just to let it bake in its own heat. So then you know it's definitely ready. So I've done that for a couple of minutes, so I'm going to take it out now. As you can see, I haven't invested in an oven glove, so I'm doing it the old-fashioned way, just a pony. What I've got here is a cooling rack. So you put your tin on the cooling rack, and while it's still hot, it's still soft. So what you tend to do while it's still hot is score it and cut it into your pieces. Now, because this is circular, I'm going to cut it into triangular style pieces, so you can see it cuts through easy when it's hot. Make sure you cut all the way through, because as it cools, it hardens. And then when it hardens, it's harder for you to cut it, and it becomes crumbly and breaks, as shortbread is. So there, I've made it into several pieces. Now, to finish off the shortbread, what you've got to do is get a bit of caster sugar. I tend to use my fingers for this. Is just grab a pinch and sprinkle it over the top. Well, here I'm using a couple of pinches because I've got a very sweet tooth. Spread it around if you want. Just that little piece hasn't got quite enough on. So yeah, just spread it around however you want. You could do it the fashionable way, like people do. And there you are, it is ready. Now you leave it to cool. Once it's cold, you'll be able to take it out of the tin. You can save it in a box for a few days, just like a cookie tin or whatever. Nice to have with warm milk, hot chocolate, jar, coffee, if you're that way inclined. So yeah, there's shortbread. Thank you for watching the video. Hope you've enjoyed it. Like I say, over the coming days, weeks, months, there'll be a few more videos coming out with a few more recipes of stuff that you can do at home. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.